Disregard as regard. Camera 1. Action.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to a new podcast, our podcast number 3, Disregard as Regard. I'm Frankie Roberts, your host, and my son, Malik Shabazz, the co-host.
Same person, same time. Today I got a little bit more patience in me. I'm ready. I think we're talking about, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about systems or intersections of discrimination, prejudice, and we're primarily this week talking about the school system. For the next several weeks, we're going to take a podcast to talk about a system. So next week, we're going to be talking about the system of incarceration, mass incarceration, and we're going to touch a little bit today on the school to prison pipeline.
I get what you're saying. I like this.
So yeah, we're going to talk about, systems, school system, and areas of triumph and areas where we can show love a little more to all ethnic groups so it can become or be more equal.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, well, let's jump in quick. Let's jump right in.
Well, you definitely gotta, we first want to apologize for the timing of our podcast. I got a little busy, taking notes. And did you have any feedback?
I didn't have any feedback. I do feel that people think we are getting better and better.
Yeah, for sure.
More comfortable.
For sure. Definitely.
And which is good, and everybody is looking forward to it now. I had a few people say, Frank, when is number 2 coming out? I said, it's been out.
Yeah. I don't think we shared episode 2 as much as episode 1, but yeah, the views we're doing good. We're doing really good. Some of the feedback I got was we just need to speed it up a little bit, and that's just my nerves. And another one was just being more, I need to challenge you more. We need to open up more. I
That's
think
correct.
Somebody said we're being a little bit too conservative, kind of watching what we're saying. You have to be that way a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to definitely, this time I think I'm going to challenge you a little bit more. I'm going to stop being inside my own head. So be ready.
Okay, I can handle that, I believe, anyway. I'm going to act as if.
So yeah, I think what we initially wanted to start with was, the recent news of Dr. Faust.
Oh yeah, Charles Faust, yeah. Dr. Charles Faust. Yeah, I don't think anyone saw that coming. I know he didn't.
Right. And so since we're talking about discrimination and things of that nature, is this a form of discrimination of what's going on?
I believe it is a form of discrimination. And I believe we can blame some of it on race, but we might not necessarily be able to blame this one on race. But according to a letter that my party chairman has put out, it almost sounds like one of those intersection of political parties. Yeah, it sounds like that this might have been a Republican-Democrat thing.
Okay. And so like you said, you're a party. Do you agree with?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe that a person who happens to be our superintendent, it doesn't matter political affiliation, or it shouldn't matter. One of the things that I learned early on, you should leave your religion and your political party home in the closet. And a person that is doing a job, they serve all kids whose parents are Republican, Democrat, Independents. And as long as you're doing your job at the best of your ability, then it shouldn't be based on what your party affiliation is. It has nothing to do with that.
So forgive my ignorance. So the people that sent that letter, do they also serve on the board of the school?
No, the person that sent that letter was the party chairman for the Republican Party.
And so, do they have any say so of who's the next superintendent? Like, it just
No.
Okay.
No, they don't have a say, but because today the majority of the New Hanover County School Board is Republican, I think that it would be fair to say that it heavily influences decisions that are made.
Okay.
Which I think should be driven by how well we are serving our students, the outcome, the grades, the attendance. Yeah, I think those should be the things that's important.
Okay, so, and you might know a little bit more about this. Do you think he was doing those things correctly? Do you think Dr. Faust was doing, like you said, attendance, grades? Were those things being, what's the word I'm looking for? Did he meet his quotas, basically? Like,
Well, I was going to say he came in a district that was having some significant issues prior to him showing up. I know he recently had gotten acknowledged for doing a good job from the state. We did have a few schools that improved. So it would appear, even though they kept talking a little bit about this survey that was sent out to the staff. And much of that survey thought that the staff thought that the district didn't necessarily, they didn't necessarily have a voice. So they thought that the district could do better with giving them a voice, supporting the students, supporting the teachers, because it was sent out to the teachers. And they also said the same about the board. They didn't think they were supported by the board and thought that the administrative office didn't really know what was happening in the schools.
Right.
And so I think they might have wanted to say that about the superintendent and the assistant superintendents and the people in the head office.
Right.
Sometimes there is a disconnect from people at the top versus people at the entry level.
That's true.
So that's if it sounded like they were making that kind of planting that seed. That's probably why they let him go, even though they didn't say anything. And personnel, typically legally can't talk about personnel issues.
I got you. Well, I hope this next superintendent, because looking at some of the articles and things, we're losing money. I seen in one article we lost like 4.6. I don't know the amount, but because Black kids were being suspended at such a high rate, we lost funding.
That is correct.
So are these type of things, is that a part of discrimination and racism in
Oh, absolutely, because it was based on Black student suspensions. That was higher, that Black students are getting suspended at 6 or 7 times the rate of white students. And as a result, especially in a climate that we are talking about, we need money. We are losing money from the federal government because we've been under a sanction from the last 5 years, and that's before Dr. Faust, pardon me. So I think that if we all, as a community, are concerned that if we could improve suspensions, period, then I think that, number one, we can keep more money in the district since we are fighting, again, a budget issue. But at the same time, not even keeping money in the district, but keeping all students in school.
So I hear what you're saying, and I hope nobody gets mad at me for this. So to me, I feel as though we are starting to use this discrimination, this racism thing, sometimes as a cop-out. Like, I've sat in schools, I've worked in a school. Some kids are just blatantly disrespectful. They just don't follow the rules. So how can we blame the system for that? and I'm asking him for this just for clarity, just to give my young brain some a teachable lesson, so that way when I go back into the school system, I can say, you know, okay, this is what he means. So like, what is the difference when you say black children are getting suspended at 8 times the rate? How can we show that is discrimination or racism?
Wow. Well, I mean, if we're now because in this system we're probably less than 14% in the district of about 23,000 students, how many of it is. And we are such a small group, but we are being suspended at 7 times. I feel like, now this is just me talking, I was looking at some of the infractions.
Kind of like what you said, the fact that we are so small but getting suspended at such a, okay, I did not.
Yeah, it is. It's almost unprecedented.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think that, when we're getting suspended at that rate, and 92% of the teachers in our school system happen to be white females primarily. And and you say sometimes, you know, some of the students just bad. That ain't necessarily racism. But I do believe that sometimes if a black student push back, it's like with me, I have to be so careful on how I talk or interact when I'm in the boardroom,
right?
Because I'll be accused of being an angry black guy.
Okay.
Not the assertive guy,
but the angry black man.
but the angry black man.
Right.
So I think in schools that students are, some of the response of the teachers might be, a lot of times, here come Pookie with this bad attitude of being disrespectful. And I think that has a bearing or an impact on suspensions.
I get what you said.
Now, not that you tell me you worked in the school system.
Yes, I can understand that. So you're saying the young black student comes to the teacher, he could just be pleading his case. She'll look at it as, oh, you're being disrespectful, go to the office. Okay, I can see that. So how do we get more black teachers, or how do we fix that? That's it. Because I don't know. I can't really see that as racism. I see it as we need to teach everybody how to talk to adults.
That's correct.
It's a time and a place.
Thank you for that. I like that.
And I think we start to give people excuses. Well, you know, some teachers or parents, they'll say, if the teacher's rule is, you know, you can't chew gum in class. The kid comes in chewing gum. Can you spit it out? Why do I have to spit it out? That's disrespectful. The teacher has a rule. Follow the rule. So it's just a cop-out sometimes when we say, you know, it's the system and things. It's 24. Like we I don't know. It's conflicting. I mean, I want to say, yes, the system needs to be better. Yes, fix it, all of this. But I do agree, like, sometimes we got to hold ourselves accountable. Like, hey, you need to act a little bit better. Or, you know, you need to practice boardroom language or boardroom behavior.
That's correct. I will agree with that. So I think that while we are working with students on school appropriate and classroom appropriate behavior, I think that we could take a 2-pronged approach and also work with teachers on professional development, on maybe some of the nuances of how young people act in a certain neighborhood that might not necessarily be disrespectful, that might just be just how that student respond based on the environment and how he has to behave in order to be safe in that particular community.
Got you.
I think that I personally think that could help.
So with that and this just going back to what you said before, with that 92%, do you think if it was more teachers who happen to be black in the school system, do you think some of those suspensions come down?
Well, according to some of the studies, and I think it was Southern Coalition, and it's talked about, studies show that when a black student, has at least one black teacher, 3rd through 8th grade, it improves their graduation rate and their ability to go to college significantly.
About one teacher.
Just one black teacher during that period. In fact, Malik, you a young guy, and New Hanover County school system probably looks different now than it did for me. How many black teachers did you have at Eaton Elementary?
Well, Eaton, I don't think I had a
black teacher at all.
Yeah, I don't think I had a black teacher, but I do remember in 4th grade, I was pulled and went to a
Christian school.
I went to a Seventh-day Adventist Christian school, and my teacher, Sister Powell, was black.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. But again, I might be the wrong person, but I benefited from Eaton. I liked Eaton a lot. It being predominantly a white school, I think it was like 12 black students when I went. But at that elementary school, and I guess I do see it, because at that elementary school, you know, we took testing very seriously. Our hallways in our school was like the cleanest of the cleanest. Like Eaton is just, even when I think of it, even though it's named after a black man, it's predominantly white. It's excellence.
Right.
It was a lot. So now
and you had a black principal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and okay. I think that, you know, I mean, me personally, I think that sometimes it's significant that we see people that look like us in leadership roles, so it removes the ceiling that we can do. We can be anything we want to be. Yeah, I think that's one of the discrimination biases or bases that we can move beyond. I think it's good to have both black and white leadership.
Yeah.
But today it seems as though there's an attack against black leadership. In certain instances, now I'm not saying all.
Well, I mean, in Wilmington, Buster Williams, gone. Dr. Faust, gone, both black. Port City United was a predominantly black organization. That's gone. So, I mean, from the way it looks, yeah, it doesn't seem as though New Hanover County respects or likes black leadership, in my eyes.
So what do you think, how do you think we can change that?
You know, that's a great question, but I don't think they're going to like my answer. We've got to change as people first.
Okay.
I think in episode 1 or 2, I think I explained to you that we need a leader. We don't have that leader. Even with organizations that we have out there, I don't see anyone taking or running the front line of, hey, we'll take, the 18 through 27-year-olds that live in public housing. Let this group take them and try to figure out how we can get them voting. Let's take, we haven't put things in place for us to be able to succeed. Okay. That's where it starts. I think people who are in these higher positions, these higher levels, like yourself, like Commissioner Barfield, I think you guys need to just open the door and bring one person in. And then once you bring that one person in, they'll bring another person in. But in New Hanover County, once a person who happens to be black gets into that higher role, they kind of shut the door. I don't really want anybody else, messing it up for me. I can't bring too many of them in. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And that hurts us because now we're all in competition with each other instead of helping each other out. And that's what I see from where I sit. And I'm a young man coming into this new role. Yeah, it's a lot of everybody's fighting over that same 10% of that pie.
You sound like my friend, No Covers.
But it's the truth. It's honestly the truth. Until we find somebody that's going to stop and say, you know what, there's a problem in New Hanover County. And it's got to be a person who happens to be black, like you like to say, and has influence. And that people will sit down and actually listen to and say, okay, yeah, we're following behind you.
Yeah, well, that is definitely would have to be the approach. However, I think that one of the things and one of the reasons why that happens is, okay, Frank, speed up the tempo here. One of the reasons that happens is in order for a lot of us to get to go through the gate is, I think sometimes that systems have gatekeepers. And the reason why you typically might see just one or two blacks is like they have been appointed or set by that gate to not let everybody in, versus recognizing and understanding there's enough room and there's enough for everyone. And I think sometimes that comes from the fear of systems or people who happen to be white that might be afraid versus letting love lead. You got to let love lead. Let everybody in, because the more people we got in making changes and differences, everybody wins.
Right.
And this is not a competition. Even though sometimes we have differences based on race, when you say race, yeah, that's a competition. You got to have a winner and a loser.
Right.
And I think it should just be based on love, where everybody wins, or in the leadership world, we call it a win-win,
right, versus
a win-lose.
Right.
So let's jump real quick. Let's talk real quick about, I think it was Southern Coalition as well, that talked about the school to prison pipeline.
Okay.
School to prison pipeline.
So for my people who don't know, I don't know, explain to me what the school to prison pipeline is.
The school to prison pipeline, there is a unwritten rule and a written rule that prisons in America,
okay,
they make their bed projections, meaning how many prisons are we going to need, how many beds are we going to need in each state all over the country, based on the third grade failure rate of Black students.
Really?
Really.
So you're telling me they figure out how many prisons and jails they're going to build in the future off of this year's third grade Black children, male and female, or just?
Yeah, Black male. Black male failure rate.
Wow. So if 10 kids fail third grade, all across, wow.
Yeah. So as a result, I think it says 43.4% of all juvenile delinquency complaints in the country were school related. So, and then once you get in that pipeline, yeah, it's hard to get out that pipeline. Once you get labeled, it's hard to get unlabeled. So once you are in, you're in. And so just for instance, in our district, and these are 2018-19 statistics, sometimes the statistics are lagging behind, but it's no different today. White students in grades 3 through 8 were 2 times more likely to score career and college ready on their final exam than Black students. 7.9 times, Black students were 7.9 times more likely than white students to receive short-term suspensions. Kind of based on what you said last week, at the end of the school year, Williston had a significant suspension rate of Black students towards the end of the year.
So all of those kids are basically in that pipeline.
In that pipeline. They're in that pipeline, brother. And so there was my friend Steve Lee and some other activists worked on, and Judge Corporation, they worked on a justice school partnership that created some guidelines and parameters on a student in school when they would get that referral to the juvenile system. They tried to eliminate as much as possible pushing students towards the criminal justice system for a simple fight or an affray in school, being disrespectful, those sort of things, so that we can curtail that pipeline.
I kind of get what you're saying, because it reminds me of when a kid gets long-term suspended, they basically go on a trial. Like they kind of have to go. It's like New Hanover County schools versus, and then they'll say the student's name.
Yes.
They got a board. They got a judge. Wow. Okay. Wow. So, okay. Now I'm starting to see why you do say there's a lot of discrimination and systematic racism in it now.
Versus, and I'm just going to say, you might not want me to say this, but I'm going to mention this. We don't have to get all the way in. Is because I've always kind of been participating in the community at that level. So when you got in a little situation in school, and because I was in the fray, I was able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need my son to go to teen court.
Yeah.
And so, which, if you look at teen court, there's generally white students.
Yeah.
They are the ones that get referred to teen court more than black students, because a lot of the black students who have been in situations, it should have just been a teen court referral.
Wow. And now that I even think about, so teen court is the reason I actually wanted to, when I was in that situation, is the reason I wanted to work in communities and schools, because that's how I first got introduced to communities and schools, was through teen court when I received that. But now you're jogging my memory. Teen court I never heard about until I got in trouble, but it seemed as though my peers, or the people that were not the defendants, the jury,
Yes.
the people who were like the lawyer or the DA,
judge,
they were all they happened to be white. So wow, yeah, okay.
You see what I mean? It's
exactly.
A lot of times it's that design,
Right?
That, yeah, man, we'll miss it if we're not paying attention. And if we're not making other people aware.
Right. So isn't this the more of a reason, if we continue to see these type of things, for us to find that leader, or even to, like, how do we as young people, as people who happen to be black, how do we bring these type of things to light, to show, hey, this isn't right. What do we need to do? Or how do we, or is this just because, for me, I'm feeling as though I'm fighting a fight that doesn't matter. This is just how it is. So I'm kind of teetered from being that, community advocate, or that person that's fighting for everybody, to just being another Charleston White, where I just troll and tell the truth about, us as black people. We just, hey, man, that's just how it is, man. Y'all how do I find what side to go to?
Well, I think that is one of the premise of this podcast.
Right.
And I think we have to continue to ring the bell tone, because, again, disregard as regard, the name of our podcast. Yeah, I think that sometimes we are disregarded, but other ethnic groups think they are regarding us. And that's where we got the name from, disregard as regard.
Correct.
So we need to regard ourselves, and then work with other community members and ring the bell tone. And those community members have got to be both black and white. And I think that one of the things we talked about before we started is, I believe that we have to teach professional development amongst teachers, especially that work in inner city schools, how to, I'm going to call them student engagement techniques, how to engage students more effectively. We got to be able yeah, how do I empower students that might have came from a different neighborhood than I came from?
And you can teach that through okay. You think you can teach that through professional development?
Yeah, I believe it's necessary. I mean, it's like anything else, man. The professional development that I needed to be an executive director and to work effectively in the boardroom was different than it was when I was a barber. And so I had to be taught the nuances, even when I was a politician, when I ran for office.
Okay.
I needed professional development, how to be an effective politician.
But so you're saying taking 92% of teachers who are white and getting them professionally developed to work with inner city kids, I don't see that happening. And yeah, I just don't. This isn't Freedom Riders, and I know that's based on a true story. I know, and I get it. But 92%, and then in a county that doesn't even seem to be for Black people, I don't see that happening. I would love for it to be.
Well, I was going to say, Malik, some of this, with a lot of the teachers, and I'm going to say it like it is, I don't think that it's intentional. I don't think that when we have teachers who might not be from a certain culture or neighborhood that might appear to have the inability to empower students or children out of the inner city, I don't necessarily think that's intentional. I do think, that you can engage a person in a culture where they appreciate the culture more. And then as a result of that appreciation, they can change their approach because math, reading, and science is culture first.
Okay. I get
Think about it, Malik. When I went to church school that was all Black, and one of the cultural nuances of my hood is rhythm. We were taught our timetables in a rhythmic way.
I got you.
And as a result, I knew my timetables better than any white student in the school that I went to. And as a result, I excel.
I got you.
And I still remember 9 timetables. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 88. I had to know all 12 of the timetables that way. But in our school, it was the rhythm every day. And when we didn't do it, you had to stay inside. Frank, it sounds like you missed one. The teacher would sit everybody else down like a church choir. Say, Frankie, say your 12s. And if I messed up, I had to stay in. Man. So that night, I went home. That's what I was working on. 12, 24, 36, 48, 6, 7, 2. That's what I was working on.
You lost me at 48 after that.
Yeah, but again, it is, and that's not saying that I was better than my white counterparts. It was just the school I went to taught a cultural nuance where I knew them better.
Understood.
You got me? And that's what I think. And I think that if a teacher say, hey, I got a group of Black students, but also the white students in the class, they can get it too. If I teach it this way, I might get a different result. That's all I'm saying. That's what professional development is.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's a simple. I think it's really just that simple. But I think where the discrimination comes in at is, I call it professional development. Other people, especially systems, uses a buzzword called diversity or DEI, which almost is a dirty word to people who happen to be white.
Really?
They use this it'd be like diversity. It taken so far out of context that, hey, all I'm asking is for my culture to be embraced also. It's not instead of. Yeah, they can run side by side or together so that I can get to know my counterparts of other ethnic groups, no matter whether it's Asian, European, know things about them that are, that's just great.
Yeah.
And they can know things about me versus based on a deficit or a fear.
So did they take DEI away from New Hanover County because it was such a dirty word, and do you feel as though it was not fitting into that into their agenda? Is that why they took it away? In your
I think they
expertise?
took it away because I don't want to say they took it away. I don't think that it should have been a word of love. I love you, and as a result, I want to get to know about your ethnicity and your differences. I shouldn't have to force you, even though you can't legislate behavior, but I shouldn't have to force you to get to know me. You should want to know me because you love me.
I understood.
And that love should transcend the color line. It should just transcend. And I do take issue that my friends and enemies and all of the pieces, I take issue that they make it seem like because I want to be included and I want to be equal, that's a dirty word. Inclusion shouldn't be dirty.
Yeah.
What you think about that?
They don't want to include us. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we are sugar-coated. That's why, because they don't want to. They don't want to include us. They don't want us diversified. They don't want us feeling like we're equal.
Well, when you say they, who are the they?
To answer that question, I would have to go see who defunded or took away the DEI in New Hanover County, and that is the they.
I got you.
Those are the people who I feel as though don't want us to be equal. They don't want young Black African American children in their honors classes. They don't want those type of things.
And we did talk about that, bro.
Right, because and I said you're starting to wake me up more. We had a previous conversation for people who don't know of why do young Black kids not take honors classes at either the same rate or a higher rate than their counterparts or people who happen to be white. I think it's because it's not cool anymore. Kids don't think that honors classes are cool. Kids don't think that. Well, they think that if they join honors classes, it's going to be too much work. They don't want to put the work in. You, I think, say, it's the system's fault. So things like that, that's why I'm kind of like, no, it's we can't keep blaming the whole, no.
You're correct. We can't. That one is complicated because we did look at schools that are predominantly Black. And they are still the minority in the gifted classes, and the whites who are minorities or other ethnic groups who are minorities, they are still the highest.
The majority in honors classes. That doesn't even make sense. And it can go. It could be a number of things. It could be parents don't have the knowledge to know how to sign their kids up for honors classes. It could be a number of things.
Yeah.
I personally think from a young age, kids who happen to be Black aren't pushed to go take that honors class, to give 110%. Just show up. Mostly right now, it's, just show up. As a matter of fact, as I was just trying to do some data tracking, that is what they want to track now, is who actually attended, who's being engaged. Before it used to be, are they excelling? Did they get a 9 out of a 10 or a 10 out of 10? Now it's, hey, did they even open up the laptop? And I just think each year the bar is getting lower and lower for what we expect of our kids versus kids who happen to be white. The bar stays high all the time.
Yeah, because to me, because the system is kind of but the system is designed for white students to excel.
Wow.
like the black program that I went to, the Christian school, it was designed for black students to excel.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that even Williston, the greatest school under the sun, top 5 in the country, black or white, during that time, it was an educational system that was created for black excellence.
Right.
When we redesigned when Link redesigned was creating their office in the Harrelson Center, one of the things our deputy director said is that in this design, we want to show black excellence. And black excellence means we wanted to show that we are equal. In essence, we because a lot of times I think in a system that is created and derived on master-slave type relationships, that sometimes I come to the table having internalized the impression of that inferior behavior, and my white counterparts come to the table having internalized the oppression of superiority. It's like, hey, I supposed to be here, and you supposed to be there. And I think we both groups internalize that to the degree that is so polarizing that if I'm at the table, I almost think that I supposed to be in a subservient role versus when coming to the table, believing that we should be equal. And it has to be that from whites and blacks so that they can not expect the superior treatment, but just expect the equal treatment, and that we can walk side by side in love and accomplish great things together.
Now,
I got to say this one thing. We ought to be mortified that we are losing money in the school district for the last 5 years because we are suspending one group at an alarming rate over the other group.
Yeah.
We ought to be in outrage.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say enraged, both black and white.
Right. Because that's a lot of money. What, like 4.6 million, right?
Over 5 years.
So we lose that every 5 years, or
no? We are losing
like
almost,
$1 million, like
almost $1 million
each
a
year.
year. Yeah,
and that money would go to school systems,
to our district.
but we are losing it because we are.
Nobody's not saying that. Oh, black people, kids getting suspended. So what?
Wow.
And I'm talking to myself too.
Yeah.
You know, because I need to be one of the ones that's ringing the bell tone, putting things in place to ensure that's not a reality.
And I think that's my biggest issue with people. It's like, we're not even ringing the bell. We just like, man, take the money. You keep suspending us. It's like nobody is coming to the door and saying, hey, I can fix this problem. Or at least I want to try to fix it. So I want to ask this before we wrap up. You made 2 great points. You said when you come to the table. So when you come to the table with, let's say, a counterpart who happens to be black, and you guys are both black, do you not still want to be that superior person when you come to the table? Like, do you still feel like you should still be equal with that person?
So when I come to the table now, and just being quite honest, I always have to fight being good enough. I have to fight that because it was years of discrimination and prejudice and the psychosis of staying in my place. So to be an equal at the table, it's a fight. It's a fight. And having to decipher between whether I'm being discriminated against or it's my own volition of accepting a subservient role. So it's a fight. And so I think when we come to the table, and as I am fighting every day, my objective is to come to the table bringing the best excellence that I can bring, and recognizing that with us all at the table, whether it's another black person or white person, that together we can come up with genius ideas. We can come up with community changing approaches, and that that what I do not know, I know what you do not know, but together we know it all. That has to be the spirit every time we at the table.
Okay. And the second thing I wanted to ask, you spoke about Black excellence. Now, I'm a huge TikTok guy. I love going in comments and things. One TikToker made a comment about Black excellence. How can Black people use the word Black excellence and it not be construed as racism or anything? But when white people say something like, they want to say about their excellence, we look at them and we're like, that's kind of racist. How can you just help me shine light on the difference in that? How come Black people can scream Black excellence, but white people can't really expand on, their excellence or their pride or whatever?
Well, I think they do every day. I think that when we say Black excellence, we are trying to convince ourselves and others that we are equal. I think that is when we say it's not a slight, and people can check this out. We are the only group, Black people in America are the only group that's been totally separated from the knowledge of themselves.
Okay.
Because one time one of my friends who happened to be white, he said, well, Frank, how do you describe, what do you say to this? He said that sometime the way y'all behave. I said, nobody makes that comparison post the shores of America.
I like that, yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, before we came to America, and I can give you some real examples. When, as a member of the YMCA,
Right,
place that I love to go to, as I sent you to summer camp there, who had a history, meaning the YMCA, as being a white male Christian organization. That's its history. Wow. Anybody can go look that up.
Right.
And at a point, we was able to join. At a point, we was able to go upstairs in the men's fitness center, but before we couldn't.
Right.
So when I used to go to the front desk, sometimes, kind of being discriminated, felt discriminated against.
Understood.
But the guys who were Black, that was from Africa, white people almost praised them. They treated them different being from Africa than Frankie being from America.
Yeah.
And when I started to see that disparity, I said, what is it about the African brothers? Number one, they didn't suffer from the internalized oppression of inferiority. They always came to the table knowing that they were equal.
Right.
And it became such a part of their being that it was recognized. So when we say Black excellence, it is to be that.
Okay.
And I think once we accept that we are equal and start practicing it, and when other ethnic groups try to hold us to a subservient standard or role, we have to be able to say, I feel that you are speaking down to me.
Mm.
I feel that you are excluding me. Not indicting them saying that they are,
right.
But if I say, I feel that you are doing this, they can say, well, no, this is, and then we can have an intellectual conversation based on the merits of equality and triumphant success.
I'm gonna start using that. When I said these tables, I'm gonna start, I feel like.
Yeah, because we have to call out those spirits in high places that are happening that we can't see. And I think once we call it out, yeah.
Okay. So that just says right there that we need to work on something for us to stop our people who happen to be Black, to stop getting suspended at a high rate.
That's correct. Okay. That's right. Show them that, hey, you are just as important. This is how we're going to behave. This is how we're going to communicate and effectively in school environment. And this is how we'll return to the greatest school under the sun, like Williston was in 1968.
Gotcha.
All right, folks, that's it for us.
You tell us what we'll be learning about next. What we'll be talking
Next
about
week, we are talking about the system of incarceration. For the first 16 minutes, we're going to show a clip on mass incarceration that gives people an idea of what that system looks like. And then we'll spend the last 15 or so minutes talking about, how we can solve that.
All right.
All right, folks, remember, love conquers all.
Yes, sir. See you later.